3 years. 3 years this girl has been saving and suffering and planning, and for what? To hand it all to me on a plate. God is good. Mommy, is it there? Did you get it? Let me see. Let me see. Come and collect your future. My daughter, your ticket is ready. She is going to wake up and go mad. Oh, what are we going to tell her? Tell her. We are not going to tell her anything. By the time she wakes up, you will be at the airport, and I will be in the parlor drinking my tea. Mommy, wait for me. Mommy, she worked for 3 years to build that visa. They took it in 30 seconds. But what they did not know was that what God has planned for a person cannot be stolen. It can only be delayed. This is the story of Elysia. The sun had not yet decided to rise when Elysia was already on her feet. That was how it had always been in the Thorne family home. The neighborhood roosters crowed, the dog stared, and Elysia moved. She would fold her clothes neatly, splash cold water on her face from the sink beside the door, and begin sweeping the yard, fetching water from the spigot at the corner before the line grew long, starting the coffee for the morning before anyone else had opened their eyes. She did all of this quietly. That was the thing people noticed most about Elysia. Not just what she did, but how she did it without noise, without waiting for praise. Her mother had died when she was 9, a brief illness that came in the stormy season and did not leave. Her father, Harold Thorne, loved his children but was terrified of conflict. So when he married Vivienne 2 years later, a widow from the next county with a daughter of her own, he told himself he was giving Elysia a mother. What he gave her without knowing it was a lesson in survival. Vivienne was not the kind of woman who beat children. She was smarter than that. She used words carefully chosen, quietly delivered, always deniable. One morning, Elysia had just finished mopping the kitchen floor when Vivienne walked in, looked at the tiles, and sighed. Elysia, you left the corners again. I will go over them again. Your friends are learning meaningful skills, building something, not sweeping like a maid. Yes, Ma, I don't know what kind of future a girl like you expects. I am just saying, she never stayed to hear a response. That was her method. Drop the stone, walk before the ripple. Vivienne's daughter was a different kind of person entirely, pretty in the way that made people forgive her for things. Loud, warm, always laughing in a way that filled whatever room she entered. She borrowed things and forgot to return them. She had started cosmetology school twice and quit both times. She had a boyfriend in Savannah who sent her gift cards, and she spent the money before it cooled in her hand. She and Elysia shared a room. At night, Mirabelle would talk about leaving the country, about London, about how America was not made for serious people in their situation. One night, she lay on her back, fanning herself with an old magazine, staring at the ceiling like it had offended her. Elysia, I need to leave this country. Honestly, you are not hearing me. London, Canada, Dubai, anywhere that is not here, and you have nothing to say. Work toward it. Work toward it. That is all you know. Work, work, work. As if life is only about working. I heard you. You and your serious face. What else do you want me to say? Mirabelle, forget it. She turned over. Elysia closed her notebook, turned off her reading lamp, and lay down. In her own mind, she was already building her plan. Quietly, the way she did everything. Elysia had been selling since she was 16. Produce first, then fabric from the downtown market, selling by the yard to women in the neighborhood and nearby streets. She kept her money in a brown envelope tucked inside an old Bible her mother had left her. Not because she was hiding it, but because that envelope was the only place in that house where something of hers stayed safe. She had done a computer training program, a bookkeeping course. She told no one. She just did them before sunrise, between markets. After the cooking was done, the neighborhood noticed. That was the part Vivienne could not control. One afternoon, Mrs. Tunn stopped her at the corner spigot. Elysia, how is the market? Fine, Ma. Small but fine. I was telling my husband just yesterday that Elysia carries herself well. Respectful, hard-working. Your mother trained you before God took her. Thank you, Ma. God sees you, my daughter. Just keep going. These things always got back to Vivienne. And every compliment the neighborhood gave Elysia landed in her ears like a quiet insult, because the child everyone was praising was not hers. That evening, Harold mentioned at dinner that Mr. Edosa had spoken well of Elysia at the Block Association meeting. He said it's the way men say good news casually, without understanding what it costs the women listening. He said she has good character that people talk well of her. Silence settled over the table. Vivienne smiled, the practiced smile she kept for public moments. Yes, Elysia tries. Just that, Elysia tries. Not we are proud. Not she's doing well. Just enough to seem agreeable, and not one word more. Elysia ate quietly and said nothing. Harold saw that his house was clean, food was on the table, and told himself things were in order. He did not see the way Vivienne spoke when he left the room. He did not see how Elysia's food portion had quietly shrunk over the years. A father who avoids conflict does not keep peace. He only delays war. On the evening that would later divide her life into before and after, Elysia sat outside on a low stool sewing a blouse by the last light of the day. The power had not come back on. She was using the dusk. You and this you're sewing as if that is what will take you anywhere. Mirabelle, I'm only saying you work and work for what? Some of us have bigger plans. Good, pursue them. You think you are better than me. That is what it is. I don't think anything about you, Mirabelle. I am just trying to build my own life. We will see whose life goes further. She dropped more fabric scraps on the clean ground and went inside. Elysia moved her stool 2 inches closer to the last orange glow in the sky and kept going. She did not know yet what was coming. She did not know that the same roof she kept, the same family she held together without being asked, would soon be the hands that undid her. But she kept sewing quietly, steadily, the way she always did. It had taken Elysia 3 years to build that file. 3 years of saving, of filling forms she did not fully understand and going back to fill them again, of visiting the travel agent downtown so many times that the woman at the front desk knew her name without asking, of gathering every document they requested, bank statements, invitation letters, business proof, photographs, and keeping them inside a brown envelope that she guarded the way some people guard their lives, because to her, it was her life. The visa was a work and business opportunity, a legitimate program connecting skilled traders and young entrepreneurs in the States to a short-term program in London. A contact of her fabric supplier had flagged it. Elysia had followed every instruction, attended every required local interview, and waited. When the approval letter came, she read it 4 times before she allowed herself to cry. She made the mistake of bringing it home. Not because she was careless, but because the Thorne family home was still her home, and she still believed, even after everything, that good news belonged to family. She told her father first. Elysia placed the letter before him carefully. Papa, my visa came through. The program, the one I told you about, I have been approved. Harold looking up with warm eyes. Elysia, this is a good thing, a very good thing. 3 years, Papa. I have been working toward this for 3 years. Your mother would have been proud. She held those words close. Vivienne appeared in the doorway. She had been listening. Vivienne stepping in, voice smooth. What is happening? What letter is that? Elysia's visa has been approved. She is traveling there. Is that so? Congratulations, Elysia. Elysia should have noticed the smile did not reach her eyes. She was too happy to notice. That night she kept the envelope under her pillow. By morning it was gone. She checked the floor. She checked the bed. She pulled everything off the mattress, shook out every fold of clothing, searched the room 3 times with her hands shaking before the truth arrived quietly and completely. Mirabelle's side of the room was empty. Mirabelle's bag was gone. Elysia ran. She ran to her father's room. She ran to the gate. She ran to Vivienne, who was sitting calmly in the kitchen drinking tea, both hands around the cup, entirely unbothered. Elysia breathing hard. Where is Mirabelle? Where are my documents? Vivienne, where is Mirabelle? Lower your voice in this house. My envelope is gone. My visa, everything I worked for, it is gone. Mirabelle has traveled. That is all I know. Traveled without a word. Traveled with my documents, with my visa. You did this. You gave it to her. You gave her my chance now. Voice dropping to something cold. Watch your mouth. You are in your father's house, not a market. Papa, Papa, come and hear what has happened. Harold appeared. She told him everything. The missing envelope, the empty room, Mirabelle's disappearance. He listened. Vivienne. He looked at his wife. Do you know anything about this? Me. I know that this girl has been jealous of my daughter from the beginning. Mirabelle got her own opportunity and traveled. Why must everything be about Elysia? Are you sure the documents were there last night? Papa, I kept them under my pillow, I'm sure. Or perhaps you misplaced them and want to blame my daughter for your own carelessness. Harold said nothing more. That silence was its own answer. The neighborhood heard everything. Neighborhoods always do. By afternoon, the story had already changed shape in the mouths of neighbors. By evening, it had traveled to the next street. Old Mr. Benson shook his head by the gate. Old Mr. Benson to his wife, low voice. that this she should have kept her business to herself. You don't bring a visa into a house with jealous people. I believe you. You hear me? I believe you. No one would do anything, Ma. There is nothing to do today. But God does not sleep. My daughter, I built that for 3 years. 3 years. I know. I know. They sat together in the fading light. The neighborhood moved around them like nothing had happened. Cooking smells, children running, a radio playing somewhere. Vivienne passed through the yard without looking at her. That night, Elysia sat alone outside with nothing in her hands. No sewing, no notebook, no plan. Just the quiet, enormous weight of a future that had been stolen in the dark. She could have screamed. She could have broken something. She could have gone to the police, to the elders, to anyone who would listen. But she already knew how that would end. She had seen how the neighborhood looked at her today, with pity that quickly became distance. No one wanted to be near a girl the universe seemed to be punishing. So she sat and she made herself one quiet promise. This will not be the end of my story. She did not say it loudly. She did not say it to anyone. She said it to herself in the dark, the way people make the promises that actually hold. Then she went inside, lay down on her bed, and stared at the ceiling until sleep finally took her. Tomorrow she would begin again from nothing. Nobody claps for a person starting over. That is the part they never tell you. They tell you about resilience, about rising, about how fire makes gold stronger. But they do not tell you what it feels like to walk through a market where people used to greet you with both hands and watch them look away. Elysia knew that feeling. Now the day she packed her small bag and left the Thorne family home, no one stopped her. Her father stood at the doorframe with the expression of a man who knew he had failed, but could not find the words to say so. Vivienne watched from the window. Elysia did not look back. She moved into a single room in a walk-up building off the main road. The room had one window, a ceiling that complained whenever it rained, and a landlady named Mrs. Pio, who had seen enough of life to mind her business. She had a little money left, not much, enough to buy time, not comfort. She started with what her hands already knew. She got a job at a tailoring shop on Textile Mill Road, not as the skilled trader she had been building herself into, but as an assistant, someone who cut thread, swept the floor, and handed pins to the woman who owned the machines. Her first week, she earned enough for 1 bag of rice and bus fare for 3 days. The second week, the shop owner, a stocky woman named Mrs. Rowland, watched her work and moved her from the floor to the table. Mrs. Rowland, not looking up from her machine, "You have done this before." "A little, Ma. I used to sew at home. A little is not what I see. Sit down. Show me what you can do with this fabric." Mrs. Rowland watched without speaking. When it was done, she held the blouse up to the light and turned it slowly. "Who taught you?" "I taught myself. Watching. Practicing. You have good hands. I will teach you the rest." That was the first door. The mockery came from people she had not expected. Not strangers, neighbors, people from the old block, women who had praised her at the corner, who had called her a sharp girl, who had said, "God sees you." Those same mouths now carried different words. She heard them at the market one afternoon. She did not mean to. She was pricing thread when 2 women from the neighborhood passed behind her, voices low, but not low enough. You see that Elysia, the one standing there, she used to act like big-shot visa abroad business. Now look, she is buying thread. If you cannot hold your own things, life will teach you. She should have been more careful. I heard she accused. Vivienne's daughter imagined jealousy will not let some people rest. She kept her eyes on the thread. She asked the price she paid. She left. She walked the long way home, so no one would see her face until she had arranged it back into something steady. Meanwhile, abroad, Mirabelle was discovering something no one had warned her about. Opportunity without preparation is a heavy thing to carry. She had landed with Elysia's documents, Elysia's name on the program, and none of Elysia's discipline. The structure of the program, the schedules, the accountability, the early mornings and required outputs felt to her like a punishment. She began skipping sessions. She found people who made skipping feel like freedom. The money she was given for upkeep went in directions that had nothing to do with upkeep. Within 4 months, she had been quietly removed from the program. She did not call home to say so. She told her mother everything was fine. She found a room with 3 other American girls and began to survive in the way people survive when they have burned the structure meant to hold them, one difficult day at a time with nothing growing underneath. But that story was abroad. Elysia did not know it. She had no time to wonder. She was too busy building. Mrs. Rowland taught her pattern drafting. She learned to read body measurements the way some people read faces quickly, accurately, with confidence. She learned which fabrics moved and which fabrics fought you. She learned how to make something from almost nothing and make it look intentional. After 8 months, Mrs. Rowland called her in one morning before the shop opened. "I have a customer, a big one. She needs an outfit for her daughter's engagement party. 12 pieces. All the women in the family. She asked me, 'I want to give it to you. I will supervise, but you will lead it. Can you do it?' 'Yes, ma, I can do it.' 'Good. Don't let your hands lie to me.' Her hands did not lie. The 12 pieces were delivered on time, fitted perfectly, and the customer photographed every single one. She posted them. She tagged the shop. She told her friends. By the end of that week, 3 new customers had walked through Mrs. Rowland's door, asking for the girl who made the engagement outfits. They were not asking for Mrs. Rowland. They were asking for Alicia. She did not celebrate loudly. She went home to her small room off the main road, sat on the edge of her bed, and allowed herself one quiet moment of something that felt like proof. This is working. Then she picked up her notebook and planned the next day. Outside, the city moved and hummed and forgot about her. The way cities forget about everyone who is not yet loud enough to demand remembering. She was not loud yet, but she was coming. 5 years is a long time. Long enough for a city to forget what it said about you. Long enough for the women who whispered at the market to need something from you. Long enough for a name that was once spoken with pity to be spoken with a different kind of weight entirely. Her shop was on Reservation Road now. A real shop, not a table, not a corner of someone else's space. Her name was on the sign outside in clean black letters, Elysia Thorne Couture. She had 3 girls working under her. She had a waiting list. She had suppliers who called her instead of the other way around. She had built it the same way she built everything. Quietly, completely, without asking anyone's permission. Mrs. Rowland had come to the opening of the shop. She sat in the front row of plastic chairs, ate the small bites, and watched the whole afternoon with the calm expression of someone who had known this was coming long before anyone else did. "You remember what I told you that first day? Don't let your hands lie to me. Your hands never lied. Not once. I am proud of you, my daughter. You gave me the first chance. I will never forget that. Go and receive your guests. This day belongs to you." It did. For the first time in a long time, something belonged fully to her. Mirabelle came back on a Tuesday. No announcement, no phone call ahead, just a taxi that stopped at the old Thorne family home. A single bag and a face that had aged in ways that had nothing to do with years. London had not been kind. When the program ended and the structure collapsed, Mirabelle spent 2 more years trying to hold herself together in a country that had no particular interest in helping her do so. She worked small jobs. She moved rooms 3 times. She borrowed money she could not repay. She carried the quiet shame of someone living a life that was never meant to be hers, wearing it every day until it became too heavy to pretend otherwise. She came home empty, and she came home knowing it. Vivienne had aged too. The family home looked smaller somehow. Old Mr. Benson was gone. Mrs. Tunde had moved to her son's house in Birmingham. Harold moved slowly now, his knees giving him trouble, his television still on every evening, but his eyes not always watching it. Within a week of Mirabelle's return, the money problems became clear. The family home had been running on very little. Vivienne had debts she had been managing with pride and silence. And now, with Mirabelle back and nothing coming in, the silence was becoming harder to maintain. It was Vivienne who made the decision. It cost her more than she should. They came on a Saturday. Morning was early, and Elysia was at the shop reviewing fabric orders with one of her girls when she heard the knock. She looked up. Vivienne stood at the door of the shop. Mirabelle stood slightly behind her, smaller than Elysia remembered, eyes cast downward, hands folded in front of her like someone waiting for a verdict. The shop girl looked between them and quietly found somewhere else to be. Elysia set down her papers. She did not move toward them. She did not move away. "Elysia, we have come to see you. I can see that. Sit down." Elysia remained standing, not to dominate, but because her hands needed something to do, and the fabric orders were still on the table. Vivienne looked around the shop slowly. The sign, the fabrics, the 3 workstations, the framed receipt of the first order Elysia had ever completed alone. Mrs. Rowland had suggested she frame it, and she had. Something moved across Vivienne's face. It was not quite guilt. It was the expression of a woman doing arithmetic she did not like the answer to. "You have done well for yourself. Thank you. We are not in a good position at the moment. Things have been hard. Mirabelle is back and we are trying to. We need some help financially just to get back on our feet." The shop was quiet. Outside Reservation Road moved. Music from a nearby store. A woman calling out fabric prices. Life continuing as it always did. Elysia looked at Vivienne, then at Mirabelle, who had not raised her eyes once since sitting down. Then she looked at the framed receipt on the wall. She thought about the brown envelope under her pillow. The morning she woke up and it was gone. Her father's silence. The neighborhood women and their whispers in the market. The single room off the main road. The night she planned alone with no one watching. She thought about all of it. And then she let it go. Not for them, for herself. Because she had learned in 5 hard years that bitterness is the only prison you build and then also agree to live in. She pulled a chair and sat across from them. Her voice, when it came, was calm and clear. "I am not going to give you money." Vivienne's jaw tightened. "Not because I cannot, but because that is not what either of us needs from this moment. So you want to humiliate us after everything. I did not invite you here, Ma. You came, and I am speaking to you with more respect than this moment requires. Please hear me. What was done to me was wrong. You know it. I know it. The neighborhood knows it. And that is not why I built this place. But I will not write a check over it either. As if money can fold it up and put it away." Mirabelle, barely a whisper, still not looking up. "Elysia, I am sorry." The shop held that sentence for a long moment. Elysia looked at her stepsister fully for the first time since they sat down. "I know you are. Mirabelle." Mirabelle's eyes finally rising, red-rimmed. "I didn't. It wasn't supposed to. It doesn't matter now. What's done is done, and you have already lived the consequence of it. I don't need to add to that." She stood, smoothed her fabric, walked to the door, and held it open, not in anger, but with the quiet, unmistakable energy of a woman who knew exactly where her boundaries were and had paid for every one of them. "I hope things get better for your family genuinely, but I cannot be the one to fix it. That chapter is closed. So that is it. That is it." Vivienne walked out first. Mirabelle followed. At the door, Mirabelle stopped and turned. One last look at Elysia, at the shop, at the name on the sign outside. She stood alone in her shop for a moment. No anger, no tears, no relief even. Just the deep-settled stillness of a woman who had walked through fire and come out the other side, knowing exactly who she was. She went back to her fabric orders. She picked up her pen. She kept working the way she always had, the way she always would. The end.